Today, we're diving into something I think is pretty cool, a tool that's basically trying to be a user manual for the most complicated thing any of us will ever own, our own mind. I mean, seriously, have you ever thought that? I wish I just had a guide for how all this works. A little instruction book to help you figure out your own thoughts, your feelings, your actions. What if something like that was actually finally within reach? You know, for the longest time, the really good tools for self-understanding, the professional grade stuff, have been kind of locked away. They're used by psychologists in clinics or by researchers in labs. And that's created this huge wall for anyone who's just curious and wants to learn more about themselves. Well, a new platform called PsyProfiler is looking to tear down that wall. The whole idea is to bring those professional-level psychological assessments right to your fingertips. So what is PsyProfiler exactly? In a nutshell, it's a completely free website, and it's packed with a whole library of psychological tests. And let me be clear, these are not your typical, what kind of sandwich are you, online quizzes. Nope. These are scientifically validated instruments designed for real self-exploration. The whole thing is set up like your own personal toolkit for your mind, and it's organized into 4 main sections, or labs. So let's open up this toolkit and see what's inside. Okay, so you get to explore 4 really key areas of you: your fundamental personality, your cognitive abilities, your general clinical well-being, and even how you approach your career and relationships. It's kind of like having a complete dashboard for your own psyche. Let's start with the big one, right? Personality. This is all about getting to the core of who you are, those stable patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving that really make you, well, you. PsyProfiler offers some of the leading models in psychology. You've got the famous Big Five, which is fantastic for understanding why you might thrive in one environment and feel drained in another. Then there's something called the hexaco model, which adds this really fascinating 6th dimension of honesty, humility. And if you want to look at some of the, let's say, more challenging aspects of human nature, there's even a test for the dark triad traits, like narcissism. This can give you some powerful insights into some pretty complex social dynamics. Okay, so if personality is the what of who you are, then cognition is the how. These assessments dig into your mental machinery, how you think, how you reason, how you process the world around you. In this lab, you can get a sense of your abilities in areas like logic or language. But there's also a really interesting test for emotional intelligence, or EQ. This goes way beyond your standard IQ to measure how well you can perceive, understand, and manage emotions, not just in yourself, but in other people too. And that is such a crucial skill for everything from leadership to just building stronger relationships. All right, the third lab is all about clinical well-being. Think of these as screening tools that give you a totally private, personal way to just check in with your own mental health. Here you'll find tools that are widely used by professionals, like the PHQ-9 for depression and the G87 for anxiety. They're quick, they're validated, and they just help you gauge where you're at right now. There's also a really simple but powerful test for overall life satisfaction, which gives you a great bird's-eye view of your general well-being. The 4th and final lab is all about putting these insights into practice. You know, how does all this psychology stuff actually play out in the real world, at your job, and with the people you care about? So in here, you can explore things like the Holland Code model to see what career fields might be a really great fit for your core interests. And you can also dive into popular frameworks like the Love Languages test to get a better handle on how you give and receive affection. Super practical stuff. So with all the quizzes and tests floating around on the internet, there's always one huge question, right? Can I actually trust this? And that's a fair question. It's why it's so important to know who's behind a platform like this. PsyProfiler wasn't just created by some anonymous tech company. It was developed and is personally curated by one person, a licensed psychotherapist from Germany named Dirk Werner. And we're not talking about a little bit of experience. We are talking about 26 years of real, hands-on clinical work as a licensed psychotherapist. That kind of real-world knowledge is what informs every single test that gets chosen for the platform. Dirk Werner isn't just a practicing therapist. He's also a pretty prolific author. He's written 29 books on psychology and self-help. So you can see this isn't some side hustle. This is really the culmination of a long career dedicated to making psychology practical and accessible for everyone. And maybe the best part is how incredibly simple it is to use. You just pick a test you're interested in, follow the instructions, and boom, you get your results right away. And there's no cost, no sign up, no hoops to jump through. So we've looked at the what, the why, and the how of it all, But really, it all boils down to one simple question. What could you learn about yourself? This is where the real exploration starts. Just think about that for a second. If you had a tool like this, a really detailed map of your own mind, what's the very first place you'd want to go? Would you look at your personality, your career path, your emotional intelligence? That's a pretty powerful question to ask yourself.